Good afternoon, relatives. Hi, Shanu. Um, this is my, I guess, my late spring installment of the 2012 garden report. There's a view of the gate. Take a step back here. Before I get started. Hi. Hi, Shanu. Hi, Shanu. Je t'aime, mon amour. Je t'aime. Beaucoup. Toujours. On to the garden report. Okay, well, I got a bunch of stuff outside. These are onions that have been torn from the earth and are going to be broken up. Green onions going to be broken up and scattered amongst other pots. There's some detritus, empty pots and rocks and stuff like that. Dirt to be processed. There's a bucket of strawberries that's going to get transplanted. Over here, I got willow water. These are willow shoots. See if I can find a good example. Over here, maybe. These are willow shoots. This one's got a few little root buds on it. The point of this exercise is to put the fresh willow stems in the water, and the willow releases a rooting enzyme into the water, and then you take the water and pour it on your plants, and it helps them to root. And I'm going to be working a couple of experiments, sort of geomantic experiments, in order to engage some ideas that I've been inspired to think about. So this is the willow water station. I've got different experiments with the willow going on to see how I can propagate it. This is thistle water. It's thistles that I've gathered from the yard, just soaking in water until they turn rotten and green and stinky and smell terrible. I take that water, this top bucket here, this top bucket, that actually has some holes in the bottom, so it acts as a strainer, and the bottom one, of course, catches the juice. And then I dump the juice in and mix it with some willow water and feed it to the plants. So here, more stuff in production. Some soil I got to process. I take the not very good soil that I have and I add fresh grass clippings to it to just give it a vegetation boost, a carbon boost. It fixes nitrogen in the soil. Well, it just it mixes it right in there. The grass slowly releases nitrogen and feeds the plants. Over here, this is the beginning of the summer project, which is to install a new garden fence. I'll step back over here by the door. There's the door. And take a look along the fence line, and you see how it's scattered and ragged, and there's some bits that are falling over. Well, from this point right here, and through that pole, and just about as far on the other side, I'm going to put in some new fence posts and new fencing, and I'm going to fence and rabbit-proof the garden. Because we've got rabbits closing in from the Fulford Valley, and apparently they're down in the deeper south end, and they seem to be expanding towards here. So it's time to learn how to rabbit-proof my garden. So that's one of the projects I'm working on this summer. There's all kinds of stuff scattered over there. There's dirt got to be sifted. I brought the dirt sifter down. There's all grass from the bank that was here, sort of killing off the vegetation. It's a great idea to bank your garden borders with dead grass, because it kills off an awful lot. You take a look at this patch of brown earth. I just uncovered it like yesterday or the day before. All that had this grass on it, and over the course of the year that it was there, it killed off most of the weeds that were existing outside the garden, and that's good. Now all this dirt is going to get chopped up. It's going to be hand processed. The invasive roots are going to be pulled out of it, and it'll be processed into the garden for food. So, into the garden. Let's see what's going on. Let's see if there's radical improvements. There's the raspberry bed. I'm very happy with this compared to last year. Last year I was happy with it, but this year I'm happier with it. It's propagating. Here we can see an issue that I'm going to talk about later in the video. Tent caterpillars. I've been fighting them in the trees, and that's what I'm mostly going to focus on in this video. I'm giving about 6 or 7 minutes to this garden, then we're going to take a walk around the yard. Later today I'm going to get a bucket of soapy water ready, and like extra soapy water, and I'll be dumping these caterpillars, the ones that are not showing a little white dot on their head like that guy. That guy has a parasitic wasp larvae in him, and I'm going to leave that guy to live and eat, because I actually want the parasitic wasps to propagate so that they take out more caterpillars. But some of these ones that don't have evidence of that, they're going to get drowned. This guy here, who's eating up my raspberry leaves right now, he's going to get plucked out of here, probably in about 10 or 15 minutes. This will be where I'm starting. I'm distressed to see the number of caterpillars that are in here on the garden. I've only so far gotten as far as the raspberry bed. But also this video is important because it'll show some people that these caterpillars, like the argument is going out here, there's lots of apologists, and they say, oh, don't worry about them, leave them alone, they have their own natural cycle. But they've just begun their march. There's, in my yard, despite my efforts, there's probably several million caterpillars, and they want to eat, so they're going to come and eat here. And you know, there's not an awful lot that I can do to keep them out with holes in the fence that big, as good of climbers as they are. Anyways, later for that. I'll talk later about the success of that. Anyways, I need to prove to people that they will move out of the trees. They will move into your garden. They will eat all your vegetation. We got it going on here. Onions that are seeding from last year. They're completely covering the strawberries that are underneath that onion, that need to be transplanted out somewhere else, which might happen today. There's some beets, of the hundreds of beet seeds that I planted last year. This was the 5 beets maybe that kept, and I'm keeping those in the ground just so they can make seeds. Look at that. Look at all those seeds that are coming true on there. I'm happy about that. There's some mullein in there. Happy mullein, strawberries, more mullein, leeks. These leeks are in fantastic shape. This is a collard, flowering kale that's getting ready to go to seed. That'll make my winter garden again. Got this bed, got a bunch of stuff in here. Got some buckwheat for a cover crop, which I'm going to let go. Oh look, hey, more caterpillars. What a surprise. They're eating my strawberries. Wow, what a surprise. Over here, this is, I'll step back. This is a bed. This was the cabbage bed from last year. We did just eat a cabbage out of there. It's kind of being left to its own devices this year. Most of the stuff that's in there is food. There's a couple of weeds, but it's been weeded. This bed, however, I've not gotten to in any way whatsoever. It's just overgrown. It's got weeds going to seed in there. It's going to cause me all kinds of problems. And then we got blueberries stuck here. There was some stinging nettle. That stinging nettle I'm deliberately propagating. It's a soil conditioner. I'm putting it in the pot with the blueberries to help them be healthy. So we got blueberries, etc., etc., etc. And then, you know, mostly all that's covering a garden full of weeds. This is parsnip, I've been told. I've never seen one this big, but it's going to seed. I'd be happy with some parsnip seeds if that's really a parsnip. We'll have to wait and see and find out. Over here, here's another bed. This one, oh look, more tent caterpillars. Wow. I've got peas planted in here that the slugs got to. This is a lacinato kale, I think. This one's rather hardy for winter. And these flowering tops, these are delicious. These bits right here, when they get there, like it's going to keep producing this stuff. It's going to keep making seeds. These are delicious. They're like really sort of sparse broccolis, but they're a little bit nutty. Great to eat. Saute them up. Tasty, tasty. Clover. After years of weeding clover out of the garden and being successful, I learned it's a soil conditioner, so now I'm putting it back in. There's a clover that's been deliberately installed. It's thriving, and apparently that's a good thing. Got some peas coming up. And this is last year's potato bed. There's a lot of potatoes in there. I thought I got them all out. I didn't. I'm thankful. I never really actually got around to doing this year's potato bed. I'm glad last year's is still on the job. That's a pile of dirt. It's got to get processed. And biomass to be processed. This is the strawberry bed. I know there's some stuff lying on top of it. There's weeds growing up in it. I'll get there someday. And then over here, oh yeah, tobaccos that I just got in the ground. Tobaccos, some of them are in there with sunflowers, some of them are in there with vegetables that are going to go to seed. I had enough tobaccos, it was worthwhile to play with it a little bit. More tobacco, sunflowers. More tobacco and sunflowers. There's some squash starts that I just got, and they look like they're holding up well. It looks like the slugs haven't been after them. And more starts that I got, and more big pots, little mini gardens of stuff. This is a bearded iris that, I don't know, somehow ended up in my garden. But irises are pretty much immortal. Look at that tobacco. That's taken off just since yesterday. That's a happy tobacco. Oh, that makes me happy to see that. Makes me happy to see that. Over here is the remnants of the stinging nettle experiment, which is going rather well. I'm deliberately propagating stinging nettle because I use it for, I use the vegetation for fertilizer, just like the thistles. You put it in a bucket, put some water on it, let it get green and stinky, and then take the water out, pour it on your plants. Most of the plants that I'm growing in this garden are extra hardy, immortals, easy things to grow and maintain, or more to the point, difficult to kill, whether accidentally or on purpose. Got some stinging nettle like right in the garden bed. I don't mind at all if the nettle takes over, helps cultivate the soil here, and I'm transplanting it out to the garden because that is what I want to do. I want to put stinging nettle, comfrey, plantain under the trees, these all soil conditioners, and maintain them. So here, got more tobaccos that were planted. That was a big project yesterday. There's another intentional clover in the garden. There's some horsetail that's coming up. We live in horsetail country, nothing I can do about that. Nasturtium volunteers, got lots of nasturtium volunteers. The little round shape leaves there, especially over here, got a lot of nasturtium volunteers. Peas, which have usually done really well here, not doing so well this year. I just had to plant a bunch more. I'm hoping to fill this rack up completely. Anyways, I spent 12 minutes on the garden when I only wanted to spend 6. So let's go out and do a bit of a tour around. I'm going to do a fast walk of the land. Apple tree, apple tree, apple tree. There's rose hips are blooming. That's a cherry tree. That's a Salt Spring heritage pear. That's a Bosch pear. On the other side of that's an apple tree. That big tree there is an apple tree. Got medicine plants that are growing up out of the pile of rocks. Don't know exactly what this is, but you know, it's one of those milkweeds or something like that. Somebody smarter than me will come along and go, oh wow, these are beautiful, whatever they are, and I'll be like, oh, is that what they are? Over here, let's take a look at the base of the apple tree. This apple tree, I over pruned it a couple of years ago, but it's coming back well despite the caterpillars. There's a thistle plant. It's an honor plant for the garden that I keep. One of these plants that I use for fertilizer, I keep it alive and well and healthy in the garden just to honor it. And look at that. There's a tent caterpillar eating the thistle. Wow, what a surprise. Who'd have thought that they would go after such a terrible tasting and difficult to maneuver piece of vegetation? There they are. There's a stinging nettle. That's another honor plant. Here, good example. There's low growth coming up on the apple tree. New growth coming up low on the apple tree. Because I've been trimming the top, the bottoms are starting to flourish. That's what I want. There's a comfrey plant for the apple tree. All 3 honor plants. This berm made out of branches that came off the tree and a little bit of soil and a lot of grass. There's another apple tree which is in fantastic shape. More honor plants there. There's just a berm that I'm making on the front of this blackberry and rose hip hedge. Put that berm there to sort of contain it, to keep it from moving out into the yard. And then we come around here, composting toilet, yay, composting toilet. That's another look at the garden. that's where the cattails are crumbling. That's the gray water pit. All of the gray water from the house goes in there, and then that vegetation eats up all the water. Over here, for my tent caterpillar interested friends, this is the caterpillar pit. It's the old outhouse pit, and what I've been doing is after drowning the branches, throw them in here with some grass clippings from the lawn. This is actually about, I don't know, 2 feet deep of compressed grass, and every once in a while during the day when I'm coming this way, I'll come and I'll take and I'll see where's the live caterpillars, and I'll look at them, and then I'll get out here and, oh, this is not for the weak of mind and heart, but occasionally necessary when certain types of bugs, for whatever reason, usually improper manipulation of their environment, they happen to all of a sudden take off and become a pestilence, become an infestation, when under normal circumstances they would have just regulated themselves. Let's take a look at this bush. Got some nice flowers. These are rose hips, and not very much in the way of nests. I'm happy about that. More roses. This is a kind of gross right now. I cut it a little bit too low, but that's one of my thistle patches that I sort of maintain because it provides me with fertilizer. So paths into the rose hips there. There's the trip to the lake. We've done that before. This part of the field only got half cut this year, and will only get half cut this year by the mower because, excuse me, because it's too wet down there. The lake is still too high. I can't really get in there with a machine. I'm gonna have to wait till high summer and then get the scythe out and finish that by scything. Another view of my place. Take a look at those roses that are blossoming all over there. That's one of the things that I harvest during the day, during this season. It's a nice hawthorn there. Take a look, and over there, there's the big hawthorn on the property. That's one of the corner trees. It's blooming. More apple tree. There's my apple tree. Most of those are devoid of caterpillars, and I won't be recording that exactly, but what I do want to show is that the land is clear, basically, of tent caterpillars, except for a couple of troublesome spots that I'll show you and explain to you. Everywhere I can reach is clear, which is a good way to express it, and that's like in and amongst the food source areas. Like I can turn and look back here into that willow grove. This is in between us and the lake, and you might be able to, with your own eyes, see some of the nests that are up there in those trees. They are there. I wish they weren't, but it's actually these that form the border perimeter of my defense system against the tent caterpillars, because after they march across all this open space looking for food, they climb up on top of these branches and they make themselves obvious and accessible. That's actually part of the long-term plan for dealing with the tent caterpillars, is to give them food sources which are available that they're going to make themselves visible upon. That makes it easier for me to cut them out and clean them up. So I've got these little tufts in between the housing and the food creation area to be an attractant for the caterpillars. And that way I don't end up with tent caterpillars in the plum trees. There's the first nest that I've seen so far this year in that tree. Let's see if I can find it. Maybe I'm looking the wrong way with the camera. Anyways, it's right there in the center of the picture, and it is a little bit obscured by leaves, but I got an eye for them. That's the first nest that I found this year after a month and a half on these trees. They're lucky. These branches that I'm just backing out from, these are branches from the plum trees when they were pruned, and I've you know, sort of berming the trees with them and trying to keep the vegetation short around here so that the best part of the energy goes to the fruit trees. Here's another berm, another bank there in front of that rose bush. That's to contain it, keep it in that spot, right? Keep it from moving out so far, and it gives me a definite border when I come around clipping these things back. is like I know how far to clip them back, and you know, I can keep my lines nice and clear. It looks good, I think. There's a volunteer plum tree that's might bear fruit for the first time this year. Might have borne fruit for the first time last year, but I think we're actually going to get like a substantial amount out of it for this size of the tree this year. Geez, got 6 minutes left. Here's another plum tree. Maybe I'll just make a second segment. Look at these roses. Look at these roses. Aren't these gorgeous? And fat. They're fat this year. They're big. They've got texture. They've got some substance to them, you know? Here, let me see if I can do that again. Get a nice picture of it. You can see the raindrops in there. There we go. And yeah, they've got substance. They're not fragile, those petals, and that's a good thing. For me, that's a sign of the vitality of the roses, and I think it's a benefit to cut them back. At least that's what my empirical evidence is showing me. There's another plum tree. More roses. It's a cedar tree, and I'm going to come out to the road. I'm going to take a look at part of the tent caterpillar issue in the last few minutes. This tree, there's a vehicle coming, otherwise I'd cross the road. This tree, this is the maple on my property, where I live. And I am going to cross the road now. You can get a good shot of it. Because it's a big tree, like 60 feet high. And, you know, it's got healthy foliage all around. Oh, and what's that coming into the view? That's the neighbor's fence line. So this tree's on our property. Let's go over here and have a look. What's going on there? That's a maple tree too. Hard to tell, eh? Especially when you look at that one, and then look at that one, and then look at that one, and then even look behind that. I'm not going to go too far that way. Power's almost out. And then over here, I'm going to have to cut to a new segment soon. There's this one which every year is like filthy. It's the first one that's filthy. And just look at all the snot balls and nests on there. That tree up behind it, these are major sources of infestation of these things. Where we live, I'm just going to scan around. You can see a lot of high coniferous forest surrounding. This is the open spot. So these caterpillars and moths that live here, they're sort of like the local population of them, you know. And if these ones were dealt with, then we'd have a significantly smaller problem right here. Yeah, after here, you can see the trees close in again. They close in that way and across the road in that way. You know, we got the lake, but this is like the open spot. And coming back to the driveway, there's that hawthorn that's one of the corner trees. It's a marker on the driveway. And we'll finish with a shot of this poplar tree. Now, this poplar tree was clear up to 40 feet, but because the top 140 feet are absolutely infested and I can't reach it, then the bottom 40 feet have come into danger, and well, the caterpillars are dropping into the lilies. I've been finding those in the last couple of days. So we're 24 minutes. I've got 26. Power's almost out. I'm going to call this the end of part 1, and thank you folks for your attention. I'll talk to you again soon in the next segment. Look, there's rose hips. Now I'm just going to keep going looking at flowers until it runs right out. Use up all the tape. Here, look, there's caterpillars. They're infesting the lower growth of this poplar tree. These ones probably fell out of the tree. But obviously a problem spot. This tree is going to be infected soon. Oh, this is a rose bush. Anyways, that's the issue. That's the issue today. These are Russian irises. These are rare, apparently. There's a rhododendron that was saved from in front of the old house. There's an ant's nest. I don't know if you can see that very well. I'm going to close right in on it. You can see the ants in there. It's a big ant's nest. I don't know if you'll get the size of the height of it, but here, that's chest height. There's that flower. This is like knee height. There's the ants in there. And oh, hey, look, caterpillars eating the irises. Wow, what a surprise. There's some flowers on that tree. The lilacs here are just about finished here. There's an apple tree. There's an apple tree. I'm just sort of whipping through it right here. So I wanted to actually show off the snowball tree with the last few minutes. There we go.